Good evening, everyone, and welcome back from fall break. It is 5:30 p.m. and the Cleveland City Schools Board of Education meeting will come to order. First off, we'll have Mr. Jackson Asaran lead us in a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the pledge.
Thank you, sir. We don't have any public comments, so we'll proceed to our next item of agenda, which I want to make a couple statements. I'd like first to welcome Lynn Vols, the Executive Director of BCPEF, for joining us tonight. And then also I want to mention that as the chairman of the Cleveland City School Board of Education, I'm committed to running an orderly and efficient meeting, treating everyone with respect. Board members will be provided equal voice for all matters and should communicate through the Director of Schools, Dr. Jeff Elliott, for addressing his staff. A couple of reminders for our parents in our community. Board of Education policies can be found on the Cleveland City Schools website at clevelandschools.org. When there, click on District, Board of Directors, and select Board Policies. Our meetings are not open forums or public forums. However, the board has made accommodations for a city resident, a Cleveland City Schools employee, or parent, guardian of a Cleveland City Schools student to address the board via a couple ways. Those ways are listed in School Board Policy 1.404, and it includes two options: appearing before the board via pre-meeting requests and addressing the board on agenda items via same-day requests. And since we don't have any public comments, we're going to move to the next agenda item, which is a consent agenda. Are there any items that you would like to remove from the consent agenda? All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented. Okay, do we have a second? All right, Ms. King, would you like to? I'm sorry, Ms. Wheeler's doing it tonight.
Ms. Wheeler's doing it, Ms. Wheeler doesn't know what she's doing, so.
We do want to welcome Ms. Wheeler to the
Thank
table
you.
tonight. So.
Thank you. I'm not real sure what I'm supposed to be asking at this point.
We're going to
Call
take
for
a
a
vote.
vote.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, we'll call for a vote.
Yeah.
Okay, Peggy Pesterfield? Yes. I'm sorry, Jody Riggins? Yes. Nate Tucker?
Yes?
Andy Lake?
Yes.
Matt Coleman?
Yes.
Carolyn Ingram? And Krista?
Yes.
That passes. All right, next item on the agenda is the director's update. So I'm going to turn this part over the program over, or the meeting over to Dr. Jeff Elliott.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Good to have everybody here. Welcome again to everybody. In a few minutes, we'll find out a little bit about why we have so many people here. Mr. Pritchard will be making a special recognitions here in a few minutes. But also, welcome to our BCPEF Lead Fellows group here in our room tonight. A great group of 12 individuals from Bradley County and Cleveland City Schools here and attending our meeting tonight. So welcome. Just a few highlights I wanted to share, some highlights from September, some things that have happened, and then we'll move right along here. But first of all, I just want to let you guys know we have a celebrity in the house tonight. Cleveland City Schools last month was notified that Mr. Hal Taylor, our Director of Operations, is the recipient of the Tennessee Environmental Health Educator Award. And tomorrow night, there'll be a recognition of that here in our community. So I did want to make sure we recognized him for his accomplishment. A few other events that happened in September. Our board did attend the TSBA, Southeast Tennessee Regional Session in Athens, and the board was well represented. I appreciate being well represented there at Athens, and that Athens served as a great host to us. The Cleveland High School team conducted its Hall of Fame back in September 13th, a month ago, and honored several individuals, and our very own here in our office, Adam Moss, was a recipient, and we're proud of him and what he means to our team here. Cleveland City School Board also held a meeting with City Council on September the 19th, and we'll continue to talk about future facilities and what growth it means to our school system, and we'll continue to have those discussions as we move forward, and had a good meeting here on that September 19th between our board and the City Council. Also, I had the opportunity and privilege to present to our Kiwanis Club back last month. Mr. Cliff Eason extended the invite on behalf of the Kiwanis Club, and I enjoyed that. We also had Dr. Danielle Scarth attend a meeting before that, part of our team, to share all the great things happening here in Cleveland City Schools. Soon after that, just a week later, I had an opportunity to share at the Chamber of Commerce as well about the state of education and what's going on in Cleveland City Schools. Just for your information, board, I just attended an annual state superintendent's conference. All the superintendents were well represented at that meeting, and a lot of good information from the State Department, along with legal aspects of what's going on in our state and what's coming ahead, just to have a vision of what to prepare for as we move forward through the school year. Our GAP students visited our community last month, and some of them attended classes at Cleveland High School, and we had an opportunity to visit with them. I did at the BCPF offices one Thursday morning in September. It was a good fellowship and time together to meet the individuals from Germany, and had some great experiences to hear of what they had enjoyed doing here in our Bradley and Cleveland community, and look forward to hearing more things to come as we continue to partner with our GAP program. Cleveland City Schools hosted a great evening here on the Greenway to sponsor Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and raise some money to support those organizations, and I appreciate all of our employees and people who participated in that special evening in September. And our board also was at Cleveland High School, and Cleveland High School was a great host to us for our breakfast time on September the 24th. So those are just a few of the highlighted events that have been taking place with our team here. Upcoming events coming up in the near future. Tomorrow we have another breakfast with the board scheduled over at Stewart tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Also, tomorrow is a big day over at Cleveland High School. It's a senior ACT retake day going on, and some other testing activities happening on that campus. I know the team at Cleveland High School has worked hard to prepare for that, and our students, I know, are probably really excited about this day tomorrow. So. Just for information, and at the elementary level, tomorrow night's the elementary cross-country event. Just always want to make sure that's on people's calendar, some of these big shared elementary events that are taking place. Board of Education is planning a retreat just to take a look at some facility needs in the future, coming up on the 29th. Also, there's a lot of fall festivals and book fairs going on in the elementary world. And then on Monday, November 4th, just for make sure it's out there, our parent-teacher conference day is from 12 to 7. And on Election Day, our schools will be closed as well. That will be a staff development day while voting is going on in several of our schools as school precinct areas. As we kind of come to the end of my report each month, I would like to share some champions of the month. And these are nominated by other colleagues and students out there, and then we see who we see that's come in as a nomination. And then at each school, we recognize a school a month. And in September, we had a student and a teacher that was recognized as champions for the month for Cleveland City Schools. That was Miss Jackie Smith, a fourth grade student over at Arnold, and Amanda Brewer, special education teacher. And then this month in October, just this afternoon, we were able to recognize a senior, Catriel Centel, and Assistant Principal Donald Benton for, they had received several nominations for being champions in their area and doing great things, and so we were glad to recognize them for their accomplishments. We had some great pictures that came out of last month of Blue on Two days. The second Monday of each month this year, we are celebrating who we are across all the schools and encourage our staff to wear their blue. And also they can wear blue jeans if they choose. But we just want to showcase the excitement that's going on in Cleveland City Schools and proud of who we are, and also to welcome our students back after a weekend. And so today was another one of those days, the second Monday of each month. So that was good. And the last thing as I close, just want to say a special thank you to all our schools in our community for the outpouring of giving and love that they've shared over the last couple of weeks as they've donated to hurricane relief. Operation Compassion, as you well know, many of you in our community stepped up and helped coordinate this event. And our Cleveland City Schools family stepped up as well and contributed in a lot of special ways. These are just a few pictures of the giving across at our schools, and then the leadership team who stepped up from the high school to help us load that over at Operation Compassion headquarters that Life Care provided for us on that day. So I'm so proud of Cleveland City Schools and their willingness to give.
All right, do we have any questions for Dr. Elliott? All right, next on the agenda, we have a spotlight, and I'm going to turn it back over to you, Dr. Elliott.
All right, we have two special spotlights tonight, and they are related to Cleveland High School. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Pritchard and his team as they come to share the highlights.
I guess I'm the team tonight.
Okay, it's all yours.
There's so much going on at Cleveland High School. We're always super proud of what's going on at Cleveland High School. I could probably spend the next 2 hours, but I'm sure everyone would love to go eat dinner tonight. So I did pick a couple of things. One, athletics. Volleyball is playing tonight for regionals and possibly could be hosting the sub-state championship this Thursday. So we're excited for them. Fine Arts Theater had a great production. Band is winning everything everywhere they go. Our students mastering content at Cleveland High School just keeps going up. Like it's like we keep having more and more interventions, and then also we keep improving in so many different areas. So one thing we want to focus on tonight is our AP Scholars. So Mr. Raper, if you'll pull that up, there we go. So just to tell you a little bit about what AP Scholar means, this year we had 28 students who are AP Scholars, and that is granted to students who receive a 3 or higher on 3 or more AP exams. So if you'll go to the next two slides, if you see, could you scroll back one more time right there? There we go. So the class of 25 has 40 AP Scholars, and AP Scholars is all of these, so it'll make sense why I said 28 here in just a second. So if all the AP Scholars, will you go to the next slide there? All right, so here are some of them. So if you are an AP Scholar, if you'll come up to the front, we're going to get a picture of you guys and give you guys a round of applause. We got 2 slides here of AP Scholars. So Leah, Michael, Cameron, Nicholas, Britton, Isabella, Natalie, Margaret, Victoria, Bowden, Allison, Darla, Hugh. If y'all will come on up. Come on up. Congratulations, guys. Mr. Raper, there's one more slide on there too for AP Scholar. Reagan, Anna, Mary Jane, Mary Kate, Alaka, Ginger, Anderson, Caroline, Emma, Juan, Adam, Kenyon, Morgan, Madeline. If you guys will come on up as well. And stay put. We're gonna add to this. You're gonna see how many we have here in just a second. So you guys stay put. Don't leave. The next group are AP Scholar with honors. These are granted to students who have a 3.25 on all AP exams taken, an average score of that, and have a 3 or higher on 4 or more. And so these kids here, Maeve, Trent, Wesley, Lucy, Elijah, Savo, Nicholas, and Anjani. If you guys will come on up to the front. Come on down. All right. And then we have our AP Scholar with distinction. And these are students who have an average AP score of a 3.5 on all AP exams taken and a score of 3 or higher on 5 or more of these exams. And so we have 4 of these students. AP Scholar with distinction. Jackson, actually we have 5. Jackson, Charles, Evan, Callie, and Luke, if you guys will come on up. All right, and one of these students, the one with the MIT shirt on standing down there, Mr. Luke Felty, he also scored a perfect score on the ACT, a 36. Like that is That is huge. So I give this guy, he's going to be a famous young man, I believe. He's going to be so famous. Also, Luke is a National Merit semifinalist, which is another huge deal. So congratulations to these guys. We actually almost doubled the amount of students who are an AP Scholar with honors, and AP Scholar with distinction. This is almost double what we've ever had. And so I'm super proud of you guys. You guys work so hard, and y'all make me smile every day. So give them one more round of applause. Board, yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much. Y'all are welcome to go back to your seat. I'm so proud of y'all. If you'll pull up the next presentation, this one will only take about 40 minutes. I'm kidding. It's going to be real short, I promise. The Raider Way, this is something new that we tried at Cleveland High School this year. And so appreciate the board and the director for their support on this. It's making a difference, y'all. This is one of those things that we talked about this summer, and we're like, I mean, let's try it. We've not tried anything that works so far as getting kids' attention with the three biggies, with attendance, with discipline, and with grades. And so ever since I've been in education, most of my time has been at the high school level, and this is the first year that I'm seeing real results. Like, this is really cool. And so some of you who may not know, the currency that kids love is time. And so especially high school kids, they love time. And so if kids meet the criteria to be part of the Raider Way, on a given Friday, every 4.5 weeks, they get to leave a little bit early. It gets those kids out of the building who are doing everything right that they're supposed to be doing, but it also brings in the time for intervention for the kids who may need that extra push, who may need that extra help, who may need that extra intervention, extra tutoring. And the amount of students this past time who, I can't remember the exact number, but the amount of students that achieved passing classes who were failing classes when the Raider Race started last Friday, I think it was 27 kids that ended up passing all of their classes just by staying at school. And so I wanted to share some numbers. If you go to the next slide there. So 67 in our session 1, 67.3% of our students were eligible. And it's kind of got a breakdown by grade. If you can go to the next slide there. All right, and then this last time we had a few less, but it's okay. We had 63% of our students who were eligible. The cool thing is, again, is we get those 63 kids out of our building. Like, they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing. They passed all their classes. They're not tardy. They're not late. They have all perfect attendance pretty much. A few absences, but they're excused absences. And so we get those kids out of the way. They're all passing their classes. They're making good grades. And so we can really focus in on these kids that really need extra help. And so this is the number. Go to one more slide there. All right, and so these are just a few samples of some things that people are reaching out to us. And so the community's excited about this. Our parents are excited about this. Our students are excited about this. Our teachers are excited about this. Daily I hear teachers talk about how impactful that this is, because kids are talking about it in class, and it's motivating them. It's motivating them to do their work. And so to me, this is a win. And the next win is last year at this time, I said, let's pull the data. I got with the APs today. I said, let's pull the data. Last year today, how many failing grades did we have at Cleveland High School? Y'all ready? 1,369 Fs. Today, last year, 1 year ago. Today, 498. That is freaking huge. Like, that is monstrous in my opinion. That is almost a 60% reduction in the number of students failing. That's huge. We've not been able to get their attention with much of anything else, but giving them their time back on that Friday every 4.5 or so weeks has been huge. So I want to thank you guys for believing in us, to jump out on a limb and try something that's completely out of the box. And I'm sure that y'all were scared maybe a little bit to push us through with this and be like, I don't know what the community's going to say. We're letting kids out in the building. I don't know what's going on. But thank y'all so much. I so appreciate it. Appreciate you believing in us and trusting us to teach the kids and motivate them to keep on keeping on. So thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you for taking this risk too, because it was as much a part of you as it was with us. So
Yes, ma'am.
thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
Let me see.
You were on. Now you're off.
How did you come up with this idea? It's a fantastic idea.
So, ask that again.
Okay. How did you come up with the idea?
So we came up with the idea this summer. Donald Benton, he did something similar to this in his high school, and so we have a admin retreat. It actually was developed at BCPEF. So thank you, Lynn. So we were sitting there in their conference room, and we were talking. And Donald said, "I have something that kind of worked for my school. Like, what do y'all think?" And I was like, "Let's do it. Let's give it a shot. Let's talk to Dr. Elliott and the board and see if they would approve it." And I said, "Let's do it." And he was like, "Do you really think they'll let us out?" I was like, "I don't know, but we got to try something. Like, nothing else has been working." And so we just thought we'd give it a try. And we're proud of Donald Benton for bringing it up to us. He has kind of led the charge in a lot of ways. So big shout out to him. I guess that's one of the reasons that he got the champion award, because people see how hard he's working on it. The week before fall break, I think that's all the guy got done, was working on Raider Way data and making sure that all the kids were recognized. And so we're super proud of him. Super proud of him.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the first reading of policies, and we'll turn to Ms. Jody Riggins.
Okay. Well, that's really fun, good news we've just had. Enjoyed that. Okay, the policies we have, there are 4 of them. Actually, nothing in the policy was changed at all. The policies are fine. We added the new address for this building to each one of those policies, and that's all. Just a change of address. So any questions or concerns about that? Okay, thanks.
Where's that easy button when you need it? All right, so I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the first reading of policies as presented, 1.407, 1.802, 5.500, and 5.501. Do we have a second? Okay. I'd like to call for a vote.
Okay. At this time, we'll call for a vote. Nate Tucker,
Yes.
Krista McKay,
Yes.
Andy Legg,
Yes.
Matt Coleman. Yes. Carolyn Ingram,
Yes.
Peggy Pesterfield,
Yes.
Jody Riggins.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is TISA plan, and I'll turn over to Dr. Elliott.
Okay. In just a minute, we're going to take a look at 2 components of our planning phase. The first one I'll talk about was strategic plan, and then Dr. Lang is going to come and share about our TISA state plan. The strategic plan focus, one thing I wanted to just share with everyone is this is the year that our board and our team will be going through the process of preparing for a 5-year strategic plan as we develop that out. And so we've put together a timeline here so we can make sure that we are focused on the areas that we need to focus and gather input from our community, and also gather input through the planning process. So this is a timeline that we're working towards. We began internally with our team to get organized, first of all. And so we're in the process now to begin some meetings to start putting some more structure into the planning process for this 5-year process. Our goal is in November to host a couple of community forums so we can hear from our community members here, and also conduct a survey in November to get feedback, and then to continue to have this discussion with board members along the way as part of the committee process, and develop the plan in the second semester and pull together our goals and to bring that to the board in the spring. Our goal is by March 3rd to bring a plan of some of the vision and the goals that we have as we move forward into the next 5 years. So just wanted to bring the timeline to you at this time and share with you and see if you had any general questions about the stages and the process as we go through this planning over the next few months. Okay. And we'll continue to give you updates on how things are going along the way through committee meetings and also through our board meetings along the way through this process. And then the next item that was on the agenda is regarding the TISA plan. And each year now, the state has asked each school system to review goals related to the Tennessee Investment in Student Achievement process here and take a look at that and gather input and set goals. And I've asked Dr. Lang if she would come on behalf of the academics team to share the goals around this TISA plan that we have for this coming year.
All right, thank you, Dr. Elliott. Board, I always put what TISA stands for every time that I am doing a report so that I can internalize that to make sure that I know. That is our Tennessee Investment in Student Achievement. It's really a lot of our funding model. And with this, we have goals in 3 areas that the state has required us to have goals in, and then they have given us some very ambitious parameters to work for to meet these goals. So our next slide, goal statement 1. This goal statement was set by the state of 70% of our students will receive proficient on the 3rd grade TCAP by the 2030 school year. Now, when we look at our goal from last year, our goal was to achieve 38.54% in that trajectory of students who were proficient on the 3rd grade TCAP. We saw a 3% improvement from 33.1% to 36.1%. This did not meet our goal, but we were very encouraged by seeing that we did improve by 3%. So what I will do next is, after each goal statement, go over the reflections that the academic team has looked at to figure out what we want to do the same and differently for this next school year to see how we can meet these ambitious goals. So the next slide shows some of our action plan highlights. First of all, something that we found was very successful with 3rd grade is developing a general education intervention plan for at-risk students. This is an individual plan for every student that the parent receives when they are at this at-risk category. And this is what we did for our 3rd graders. We're going to continue with our high-quality instruction material, our professional development, our instructional coaching, and our professional learning communities. We are going to provide intensive coaching to teachers with a growth score of level 1 or 2. Research shows that the single most important factor in a child's development at school for their growth and achievement is that teacher in the classroom. And so we want to make sure that we are giving our teachers all of the tools that they can have and that they need to help our students grow. And then we want to focus on data from assessments and work on data-driven decision-making. Now, goal statement 2. Cleveland City Schools will increase by 3% the number of students that are proficient on the ELA section. The difference in 1 and 2, goal 2 takes all students grades 3 through high school English 2 EOC course. So that is the difference in this, and we want to increase by 3% each year. Our goal was to achieve 34.8%. We had 34.5%. We did not see an increase. To me, it wasn't a statistically significant decrease. To me, that it was just about the same from one year to the next. So what we looked at was why. What did we do last year that we could do this year that's different? Because if some of the things that we may have implemented may not have had the growth that we wanted to see. So we've discussed this with Dr. Elliott and with the academic team. We know that we saw growth in 3rd grade. We think that it could have been because of the 3rd grade retention law and also the General Education Intervention Plan. So what we're going to do is we're going to develop a general education intervention plan for students in grades 4 through 8 who are not currently receiving any intervention. We ran some numbers and we see that, I think the number right off the top of my head is at the middle school. 400 students at this school are not receiving any type of specialized intervention, but are on an at-risk list. And we're like, well, we have to do something for these students. So we're going to bring this plan down to individual student data with individual teachers to offer them and make sure that they understand what we can do to help them with their English language arts. We're going to continue high-quality instruction materials, professional development, coaching. We're going to provide intensive support to teachers and focus on common formative assessments. And that's something that, what that basically is teachers have determined what are the, we like to use the word power standards. In this amount of time, we really need our students to learn these 3 skills. And then we develop an assessment on those 3 skills, give the same assessment to all students in that grade level, and then we look at the data to see how are we progressing towards this goal. What do we need to reteach? How did we teach it differently? What do we need to do to make sure that our students are achieving these goals? And goal statement 3, oh, I'm sorry, that was with the activities, yes. Okay, goal statement 3, the next slide, is the same goal only with math. So what we want to do is, our goal is to increase the number of students proficient in math by 3% each year. Our goal was to achieve 31.4%. We saw a slight improvement from 28.4 to 29.15. Actually, this data as a team surprised us more than the others, because if you'll recall, our math curriculum is a new curriculum this past school year. And traditionally, when there is a new curriculum, scores will decrease instead of increase. Teachers are learning a curriculum. Students are learning a curriculum. We did not see the decrease. We didn't meet our goal, but we did not see the decrease. Next slide, some plan highlights for math. Same thing as the other, we're continuing with our high-quality instruction material, providing more professional development to the teachers based on this material. Intensive coaching support is needed for teachers, focusing on data and common formative assessments. We put this plan, as required by state law, on our website, and we opened it up for public comment. And I remember last year, I think when we opened it up, we didn't receive any comments on the plan. And so this year, we did receive some comments on the plan. So what we found, first of all, a parent said, this is not easy to understand, read, it's just, I don't know what it's talking about. So we had a meeting and we discussed what we're going to do once we get our plan approved, submitted to the state. We are going to produce a 1-page document in general speaking, because we understand as educators, PD, HQIM, GEI, we use lots of acronyms, initials that are not user-friendly for the general public. And so we're going to provide a 1-page document to explain this plan. And then another parent mentioned that they wanted more funding transparency. And this plan was to put the goals in, and funding was not the major part, but we want to be transparent on what our funds are used for in Cleveland City Schools. So we're going to include that on our document. And we also had a comment about being attuned to the needs of teachers to provide resources as needed. And that was a wake-up call, because in my mind, I'm thinking we are attuned, but there's some feedback that says we need to be more attuned so that the teachers can meet these goals. And so I know that Dr. Elliott has had feedback sessions at all of our schools and invited any teacher that wants to give feedback. He's taking that feedback. If there's something that a particular department needs to know about or discuss, he lets us know, because we want to be there to provide the teachers what they need. And then there were some more general comments on things, other things within the school system that were perhaps not within the TISA plan, that we're going to look at that as well, about playground time and different things like that. So, but we appreciated the fact that we had people in the community who were willing to look at this and to give us some feedback so that we can learn from that. So, do you have any questions?
Dr. Lang,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you for telling us what HQIM. I read
High
that
quality
today,
instruction
and I
material.
kept
I'm so
thinking,
sorry. Yes.
That's one I haven't seen.
Yes. It is actually, it came out new whenever we had, whenever the state made the transition from Common Core standards to Tennessee standards. And we are under legal obligation to only choose materials to be teaching in our schools that are high quality, that have been vetted by the state.
Does that also include the ones that are adopted, such as?
That is correct. This year is the science adoption. You will hear more about that. But right now, the state textbook commission is approving, in the process of approving, high-quality instruction materials for science that we will adopt this year and implement next school year.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
Are there other questions? Okay, I have a question then.
Yes, sir.
What was the date of the first assessment, and then the date, or how many days between the first and the second assessment? And then can you talk about any kind of touch points you've done or measurements you've taken in between those dates? And
Yes.
what were those?
Yes, sure thing. This is based solely on TCAP scores. So that would be April, May-ish. We have a window for TCAP of the year before and then last year. So the TISA plan and the goals that we have are from our TCAP, which is our yearly standardized test. Now, touch points in between, we have district-wide benchmarks. And the state will only require, in certain grades, maybe 2 per year. We do 3 district benchmarks, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and then before or after TCAP, and we look at those benchmark exams. We actually use them to show, they will show us growth and a prediction on how students will do on their end of the year TCAP exam. And then what we also do is students who are in intervention groups, they receive, and when I say an intervention group, meaning they're traditionally 2 or more grade levels behind their grade level appropriate peers, and they receive benchmarks more frequently to see how they're doing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, how accurate are you finding those predictions to be?
They're very accurate. We have been working with a company, and we actually, when they came to do our beginning of the year and analysis of our data, I took the data from this time last year and what the predictions were, and it was about 60 to 70% on point. And that was just with my general, not even doing a hyper statistical model. That's just with me looking at it, and that's what I found.
So have you identified any hurdles? I know you can't predict the future, but has anything risen to the top of the list of things that could potentially keep us from meeting those goals?
Well, yes. One thing is that we were under the plan with the state where they provided for us after-school tutoring funds. And those after-school tutoring funds have depleted from the state. We're offering after-school tutoring only for they're offering it for 3rd grade or during the school day, 3rd and 4th with the retention law. But we no longer at Cleveland City Schools up through 8th grade have funding for any type of after-school tutoring because that money source has been depleted at the state. And so I know that's something that the teachers have brought up to Dr. Elliott. They've been very concerned and said to me, we're not even offering that. What are we going to do? And that's a very good question. And so that's just something we don't have this year to offer.
Are there other questions? So,
We do still have our summer camp funding money. I was at a meeting this week about that, and we do still have our summer camp funding or summer school funding. We're looking at determining how we want to do the model. Do we want to do, 3 or 4 weeks straight, or some principals? They're very, of course, invested in this, and they've been talking about different models they would like for us to consider, but we do have that. We just do not have the after-school monies that we've had before.
are there any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I'm thinking when we go to TSBA, if this is probably happening all over the state, and maybe we can find out why and how to get those funds back.
That's correct. I think I asked Dr. Taylor to pull the amount of expenditures that we had from the state for after-school tutoring last year, and it was about $340,000. And that money was just not available any longer.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, this is a voting item, board members, and so, Dr. Elliott, do you want to present this as a recommendation?
Yes, I recommend that the board approve this TISA plan as presented, and we will present this to the state before November 1st.
Thank you, Dr. Elliott.
Make a motion.
We got a motion here. Do we have a second? We have a second here.
Okay, the motions have been made. We're going to take a vote. Krista McKay,
Yes.
Matt Coleman. Yes. Carolyn Ingram,
Yes.
Andy Lay,
Yes.
Peggy Pesterfield,
Yes.
Jody Riggins,
Yes.
Nate Tucker.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Next item on the agenda is a threat assessment team report, and I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Elliott.
Yeah, I've asked Mr. Cliff Easton to come and just give us an overview of the threat assessment team and process that we follow when it comes to safety concerns. And so, Mr. Easton.
Sure. Good evening. First of all, I wanted to make sure that you all, well, I'm sure you've been following this in the news, that there have been several, is that better? Several threat assessment issues that have taken place in neighboring counties, in some of our neighboring school systems. I'm thankful to report, however, though, in Cleveland City Schools this year, we have not had any credible threats associated with our schools. So that's very good news. But that is something we watch very closely. However, Dr. Elliott and I did feel like it was necessary for us to bring information and remind everyone at the administrators' meeting that took place just before we got out for fall break, the administrators about how we address threats. I also wanted to bring that information to you all as well tonight, and so wanted to just kind of cover that in a quick format, basically. You have a one-page document in your board packets that covers this information, and that's what's also on the screen currently. And basically, it's just a little bit of information that we want to share tonight, and then we can go into more detail later on at the board retreat if necessary, if you have any further questions and so forth. But I wanted to spend just a few minutes to give you just the Cliff Notes version of what we are looking at there. Thank you. I appreciate the sentiment there. Thank you. I'm glad you caught on to that. So first and foremost, I wanted you to be aware that TCA code and our Cleveland City Schools Board of Education policy does require that we have a threat assessment team in place. So we have to have this in place, and we started this just, I guess, about 2 years ago. It consists of 8 staff members from across the entire system, and it is a core group of folks that represent various different backgrounds. We wanted administrators on the team, we wanted counselors on the team, we have operations specialists from schools that are on the team because they deal with safety, particularly in their schools. And a lot of folks are from elementary, but we also have secondary level involved in the team as well. So they were handpicked basically because of their background, because of their experience with Cleveland City Schools. In addition to that core group of people, we have administrators and SROs and possibly counselors or even teachers could be involved from a specific school if there is a threat that occurs in a specific school. So those folks join the core group, and then we sit down and work through a plan in order to address if there is a threat that takes place. The team does meet just on an as-needed basis, but when we do have a threat come up, we need to meet very quickly. We need to address the situation to make sure everyone is safe, make sure the situation is, that there's a plan in place so that we can move forward and support the student, but also the students within our school as well. When the threat does occur, or when a threat does occur, the administrator at the specific school will work through that information, gather information with the SRO and so forth, and then they will call me. And then I will try to set that meeting with the threat assessment team as quickly as possible. And then we all go and sit down together at the school and work through that information and discuss, how we can move forward and again, make everything safe as possible. The principal can go ahead and suspend that student if necessary, if they feel that that is important. The SRO may go ahead and put a charge in place, and that student could be detained if necessary. It just kind of depends on the severity of what we're investigating and what they have found. And then the last thing I wanted you to be aware of is the information that we gather and the plans that we put together. All of that information is reported to the state on a quarterly basis. The state has an online format, basically, and on a quarterly basis, I have to turn that information in to them. Now, this is confidential information. There are no student names associated with that report. It's just more statistical data, basically. And then also, we bring that information to you all on a monthly basis. If something has occurred for the previous month, you all will have a chance to review that at the board meetings. Okay. So that's basically my cliff notes for tonight. As I said, I'll be at the board retreat as well in order to go into more detail if need be. But also, if you have any immediate questions, I'll be glad to answer that tonight. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, the last item on our agenda is a student representatives update, and I'll turn it over to our student representative, Mr. Jackson.
Hello, everyone. Here's some quick updates for what Cleveland High has been up to this past month. In early September, we voted for senior superlatives, and those photos were taken by Kaylin Deloge, shown here. The next week was our homecoming week, followed up by the crowning of our homecoming king and queen, Rakeem Holmes and Queen Layla DeJesus. The next day, we had a dance set up by the Key Club. Our Hall of Fame ceremony was great and a great way to recognize some of our great CHS graduates. As has been mentioned, our Leadership 2 came together to volunteer for Operation Compassion, and our Ray Revolve class has been selling cookies and coffee in the morning, as well as selling shirts for cancer awareness. Many other things, such as the Cleveland Cruise-In, showing antique cars, are also going on. In athletics, Lauren Hurst, in the middle picture here, is breaking the TSSAA volleyball record for most career kills with an impressive 2,468. Our powder putt football game happened last week, and our football team is currently 5-2 and went to North Carolina to play a game. They had a pretty cool bus they took. Our band competition is doing great. They did great at the Carnes Marching Invitational, named the Small Division Grand Champions, and they're also named the Clinch River Classic Small Division Grand Champions in these pictures. Our second Raider Way Day was very nice and a great way to lead up into fall break. The next day after, we had a couple students come and clean up the greenway at the local Tennessee River Rescue. We're just getting back from fall break now. It's been a nice little break, good time to rest, but we're hitting strong at Cleveland High School. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions? All right, that concludes the last item on our regular agenda, and so now we'll move into our facilities update.
I'll call on Mr. Hal Taylor to give us an update on our facility projects that have been going on lately.
We've had some interesting developments occur since the last school board meeting. I'll call them interesting so that I won't have to be negative about it. How about we call it that way? First off, we have a couple of emergency situations and repairs that are having to be made, so I'll make you aware of these tonight. At CHS, Cleveland High School, in the West Wing, see if I can back that off a little bit. In the West Wing, we have geothermal system that's been there about 20 years, 18 to 20 years. There is a vault on the Peerless Road end of that school for the geothermal field. That vault was put down under the ground about 10 feet. and then there's a pipe vault, and that's how you access all the geothermal pipes. And the vault has started to collapse. And in turn, what that did is that sheared those geothermal pipes, one of the pipes, the largest pipe, supply pipe. We had gotten a call about a month ago, right after the board meeting, that we were losing like 300 gallons of water an hour at the high school. So we had to track that down. That's where we found it happening. Had to go down in the hole. I didn't go down in the hole, but one of the maintenance men went down. We had to winch him down in there and find the problem. So the situation is that there was some things on the original construction. The vault was not the proper vault for that kind of depth. It was a surface vault, and so the weight is causing that vault to collapse. So we have come up with a solution for it. The company that put that in is no longer in business. It's the same one that did the Arnold geothermal field that's out of business as well. So what we have done is we've called in another company. These companies are few and far between. The reason this is an emergency repair and we're having to go with them, one, it's very few companies that do this work. This is a company that's located here in Tennessee that does this work. And the other part is that's our heat. The geothermal, we have no boiler system in the west wing of the high school. We count on the geothermal. So without the geothermal field, we have no heat for the west wing. And we would have to bring in a temporary boiler and so forth. So because this is an emergency, we called this particular company in. They're the one that took care of the field at Arnold at that time. They have come in. They gave us two prices to exchange the underground vault, which was going to be about $20,000 more, or this price for $88,000. And what they do is they'll go down, they'll repair the pipes, they'll actually move those to the surface and put them in concrete where we can access them without anybody having to get down in a underground vault anymore. We are moving forward with this. This is informational for you to know. We are doing this out of the maintenance budget because of it being an emergency, and this is maintaining the school and keeping the school functional for the winter time. So I'm mainly coming to you to make you aware of the situation, how we're moving. We may come back to you later in the October facilities meeting and later on to look at something else. But at this time, like I said, this is what we're dealing with. They had to make a piece of equipment, a special header to fit down in there. They've got it made. They'll be showing up next week. We'll be fencing off that area this week, and we will, to keep it safe for the students to still come and go in school. And they'll come next week, and we'll start the repair next week. And hopefully by the end of next week, we'll have the repair done. So that's the proposal up there. I didn't know if you have any questions so far on this one. I know that's a lot of information I'm trying to hit you with. And yes, ma'am.
Yeah, how, can you just physically tell me where is the geothermal field located in the high school property?
There are two of them. There is one in front of the science wing. That one's okay. There is one under the Peerless parking lot. Under that parking lot is a complete geothermal field. Some of there are 80 to 100 boreholes, wells, if you want to call them that are about 300 foot deep. And then they put the parking lot on top of it. And there's a vault down there. We no longer do vaults. Vaults are an issue themselves. They're a safety hazard. We now bring the pipes into the buildings, and that takes care of a lot of these issues that they had in the past with the geothermal. We require our architects and mechanical engineers that we no longer do a vault situation. So, and that's why we're getting rid of the vault and bringing it up to the ground where it's down in concrete under covers that we'll be able to lift up and access in the future. Any other questions about that particular subject? Well, then we can move on. The CTE switchgear is a project that we are winding down. They just about completed it this week. They still have, we had to put a new switchgear or electrical service in for the CTE to handle the welding lab and several of as we're growing the CTE division, and when we increase it, we had to go ahead and put a switchgear in to handle those additional electrical requirements of CTE. So we've gotten that done. It just about got completed this week. We still have to add a door, but the actual switchgear in itself got passed and is installed and completed on Friday. So that's good news. That's actually 2 months earlier than we had expected. So instead of having to wait till next semester to get moving and get prepared, the welding teacher should be able to actually start moving using all of his equipment this semester. So that's some good news. That happened faster than we expected. We had that project was $307,750 is what the bid was on that. We had $50,000 included in contingency, and we used none of the contingency. So we were able to bring that project in and keep all of the contingency for that project and not have to allow any additional expenses. Moving on to another project that we are in the middle of is Candies Creek Cherokee Elementary expansion. We had set aside about $3 million to do that project. The company came in, Pillar Construction came in at $1,875,000 that we are funding with the bond funds. At this point, we have a total expense, calling architecture fees and everything, of $705,253.85. The contingency in that contract is about 4% of the total construction contract, which is $75,000. At this point in time, we've only allowed for 2 contingency expenses. We had a sanitary pipe busted under the ground, so when they started prepping for one of the wings, they had to make that repair, so we agreed that that was not part of the contract. They made that repair at $3,785. And then we had a brick issue. The brick, we don't usually run into this on a new building, but they've quit making that style of brick. So we had to ask the contractor to go locate a brick that was as close as possible to the style so we could keep it looking the same, right? And so at that point, the contractor found the brick, but there was additional expenses for the mortar to make the mortar match and make the brick match. So that was an additional $2,741. So altogether, out of a $75,000 contingency, we have only spent $6,526 is all we have allowed. There have been other requests we have turned down because we felt that it was covered in the contract. I won't bore you with those details, but those are the 2 that we felt were legitimate to the contract, which still leaves us $68,474 in contingency. As far as being on schedule, the contractor says he's still on schedule. There were some crane problems. I think we're a little bit off. There are 17 days, weather days, that he has legitimate that slowed him down. So I think we're probably, originally it was somewhere around the end of January. I think we're probably middle of February at this point. But I also think by the end of this week, we're going to have the roof on. So once you get the roof on, you can start moving and you're no longer affected by the crane and you're no longer affected by the weather. So I think you'll start seeing a lot more progress from this forward, and I think we'll be close to the January date. And I'll press for that, but I would rather be sincere with you and tell you that my personal opinion is we may be a little bit behind on that, which that shouldn't really affect us too much with the classes, as we're not going to move the classes immediately when it's built. And we also will be ordering furniture. I'll be contacting Sarah Whitener to set up a meeting for us to start getting the furniture ready so we can have it in by the time the school's done for the Candies Creek. And then one other repair, just to make you aware of, that we ran into since we last met, another emergency repair, and this is where our brakes come in. The sprinkler header on the west wing. Again, it's only 20 years old, but it rusted out, and it shouldn't have. So we had some bad pipe that was put in 20 years ago. It developed a leak. It started shooting out of the pipe. We were able to cap it with a temporary cap around the pipe to get us till we could make the repair. So last week, there had to be a header that was custom built to fit in there. They built it. We were able to get it in last week while school was out. We had to shut the water and all the fire systems down. in the building. We got that header changed out, got it back in place, got everything back up and going. The expense on that was not as big. The expense was only $29.95. That'll, of course, come out of the maintenance budget. But I still want to make you aware of that, just because that's one of those type of things we run into that had the potential of shutting down the whole school. Without a fire system in a high school our size, that can get a little tricky on what you have to do to keep things running. So that's my update today. Any questions on any of the items that we?
Yes, back to the Candies Creek project.
Yes, sir.
Can you restate what the original budget was and then where we landed as far as awarding the bid? And then talk a little bit about why such a drastic difference.
Yes, our original budget is $3 million, and I think, that's what was approved to go towards that project. When we bid, what we've had is, we've seen, as the ESSER projects have wound down, we've been seeing more contractors at the table. We've been seeing more competition. And where we were seeing prices at $400 a square foot for things, we've seen those prices with more competition dropping. So that's the good news. And we probably had, at that bid for Candies Creek, we probably had I think we had 8 different contractors show up, which is, we haven't had in years. So we had good competition. The company that got the bid is a fairly new construction company. They met all the requirements, but they are fairly new, so they were hungry. So they bid. I think we came in at somewhere around $250 a square foot, which is, since it's just classrooms, it makes a difference whether it's classrooms or kitchens or CTE. But since these were just classrooms, it came in around $250 a square foot. So the bid came in considerably lower than we were expecting in this day and time, to be honest with you about it. That's it. So, of course, we have the contingency in there. We do approach when we award a bid. We do approach, especially if the lowest bid, we get concerned. We do approach the contractor before we award it and say, make sure your numbers are right, because we're not going to just roll over and give you everything you want because you claim it's contingency. So we do that before we award the bid. And then so far this company has been good to work with, and we've sat down every 2 weeks. We have construction meetings, and they're doing well. But I think that's the number one thing, is there were competitors at the table, and it's probably been 5 years since we've had people actually showing up in that number to bids where we've had real competition for bids. So is that?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hal, thank you so much for all you do. I
Oh,
don't
you're
know how you
welcome. No.
sleep at night.
Oh, I'm great. I'm great. So, no problem. No problem.
Thank
So,
you.
well, thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, we have a legislative update, and we'll turn to Ms. Carolyn Ingram.
I really don't have an update as far as anything that's coming up, we have our November meeting. But if you receive the digital journal this week, you can get lots of information from that. So if you would, you could get, it says it much better than I can. So look at your journal.
I'd just like to say, as you were looking at the digital journal, Ms. Carolyn Ingram, our very own, was a feature in there. I saw a great picture of her when she was a young student in school, right? Third grade. Was it third grade? And your favorite third grade teacher? So it was a great article featuring our very own Ms. Carolyn Ingram.
All right, so that was the last item on the agenda for today. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Do we have a second? And is anyone opposed to adjourning this meeting? All right, it's 6:34. This meeting has adjourned.
Good. Got a lot done.